Seventh graders, find your Unit 3 note packet. If you don't have your Unit 3 note packet, you didn't get one, make sure you have a sheet of paper out. Next, open up to the back of the first page, the front of the second page. You're going to see these boxes. Find the page that says keyword/phrases that tell me what to do. Looks like this, and it matches what is on my screen. We are going to be dealing with story problems, and sometimes story problems can be the most grueling part of math, but we're getting better and better at it each year because we're learning more strategies, we're getting more practice. Our job in this video is going to be to write down in each one of these operation boxes some keywords or phrases that tell me to add, subtract, multiply, divide. Are they going to be all the keywords and phrases that exist out there? No, but they're a popular group. So with that said, let's start with add. Go to the add box. Here's a collection of common words and phrases that mean add. Pause the video and write them down. Before I move on any further, I want to take a moment to talk about the phrase how many. We have to be really careful with that phrase. When it comes to that phrase, we want to ask ourselves, gosh, what is how many defining? That right there, my friends, is the keyword part. Let's look at an example. You don't need to write this down. Over the weekend, you decided to train for a triathlon that you will participate in next month. You rode a bike for 3.5 hours, swam for 2/5 of an hour, and jogged for 1.25 hours. How many total hours did you exercise this weekend? What's my question here? Or what am I trying to figure out? How many total hours I exercised this weekend? So if I take that question and then turn it into a sentence and put a blank for what I need to solve for, kind of helps me out. So how many total hours did you exercise this weekend? I would say I exercised blank hours this weekend. That's a strategy that helps me go because now I go, okay, the numbers above have to be labeled hours because that's what I'm figuring out here. Is there a keyword or phrase that tells me whether add, subtract, multiply, or divide those hours? How many total hours did you exercise this weekend? How many total? That tells me I'm going to be adding those 3 rational numbers above. So what operation is needed to solve this problem? Add. In the subtract box, go ahead and write down these keywords and phrases. Pause the video. Remember, when it comes to the how many, we want to ask ourselves, what is the how many defining? That will help us move forward on picking an operation. Here's our example. You don't need to write this down. What operation is needed to solve the problem? We have already got 6.25 inches of snow. It is predicted that we will have a total of 10 2/3 inches. How many more inches of snow is expected to fall? What are we trying to figure out here? How many more inches of snow is expected to fall? Say this out loud with me. So my answer is going to be blank more inches of snow is expected to fall. You could say that a little differently. But I am going to be looking for inches above because my answer, what I'm trying to solve for, refers to how many more inches. So if I look at my phrase there, how many more, right? It's being defined by inches. That phrase right there means subtract. How many more inches do I have to get to a total of 10 2/3 inches? And you might say, well, Ms. Clover, total is up there. You're right. But in this case, total is not our key operation word because we're trying to figure out how many more inches of snow is expected to fall. So identifying that question is really helpful in helping us figuring out whether we're going to add, subtract, multiply, divide, in helping us find our keywords or phrases. So this problem is a subtraction problem. How many more is telling us to subtract? Let's do another one. Write down in your multiplication box these key operation words and phrases. Pause the video. What operation is needed to solve the problem? You work in the bakery at Cub Foods. Throughout the day, you sell 2/5 of all the donuts that you made that day, leaving 3/5 left. If your boss tells you that you can take home half of the remaining donuts, what fraction of all the donuts will you be taking home? What do we have to find here? We have to figure out what fraction of all the donuts I'm going to be taking home. So if I take that and turn it into a sentence and put a blank for the fraction part, I will be taking home blank of the remaining donuts. That tells me I have to focus on the remaining donuts. So the remaining donuts, 3/5. right? Represent what's left of the donuts. My boss tells me that I can take home half of the remaining donuts. What number goes with the remaining donuts? 3/5. So I get to take home half of 3/5. Of here is our key operation word. When we're taking a number, of means multiply. Of can be in a lot of story problems, but you got to think about how it's being used in the problem. So this is a multiplication story problem. Go ahead and find division box. Write down the keywords and phrases.
Here's our next problem, and our last. What operation is needed to solve the problem? Mia is working on a project. Each project requires 3.5-foot boards. If she has 28 feet of board, how many projects can she complete? We got to figure out how many projects she can complete. So Mia can make blank projects. Mia's working on a project. Each project requires, right? There's equal grouping going on right there. Each project requires 3.5-foot boards. If I go back to my key operation for division, you can see each group has. Each group here is the project. Each project requires 3.5-foot boards, equal grouping. This is a division problem. I'm going to have to divide.
Now, sometimes 7th graders, the keyword, key phrase doesn't stand out to you. So when in doubt, draw it out. We are going to continue to work with story problem strategies, but again, when in doubt, draw it out. Read line by line. Figure out what you're being asked to do or find in the problem. Put that in a sentence so you see the blank, so you see what you are trying to figure out, how that number is labeled. All those strategies can be helpful when it comes to solving real-world problems.